Welcome to the Filmmaker Mixer Podcast, the podcast by filmmakers for filmmakers.
This episode is sponsored by Gemini Crown Tech, software for all of your production needs. Stay tuned for more information later in the show. Hello, everybody. This is the Filmmaker Mixer podcast, and today we are chatting with filmmaker Evan Matthews about his new dystopian thriller Motherland, where Big Brother gets replaced by Big Mother. So, Evan, welcome to the show.
Yes. Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
No, it's a cool movie. I'm excited to chat about it. But just to give the audience context as to what we're discussing today, give us the pitch. What is Motherland all about?
Yeah, Motherland is a drama thriller that takes place in this alternate present society where parents are forbidden to know and raise their own children. And we follow this elite scorekeeper who makes his discovery within the group in her care that starts to change her worldview, and she begins to circumvent the system. So with that's the spoiler-free version of what Motherland is. Yeah.
Well, you've got a great cast. One of my favorite actresses, Holland Taylor, and you've got Miriam Silverman. You got some great people. How did you get this cast?
Oh, with great difficulty.
Really, really?
Because we made this movie during the writers and actors strike. So we had a particular set of circumstances and with waiting for the interim agreement and putting offers out into the world to actors who were available. And not all actors necessarily want to work during the interim agreement, and no one's really advertising that. So there's a lot of discovery and trying to dance around who wants to work, who doesn't want to work. And you kind of have to go through the checklist of who's willing to work during the strike. So there's a lot of back and forth. And because of the nature of the movie, and you have to cast parents, and everyone kind of has to make sense
Right.
biologically what the family dynamics are looking like and who's going to play Zinnia in the film. So you're waiting for a lot of different chips to kind of fall in place and see who wants to commit to the movie first, and that will give the other actors confidence to sign and move forward. So it was a rare circumstance where we had the funding in place first, and you think, oh, this is great. We're financed so we can just get whatever actors we want, and that is not it is not a cure-all. You still have to not be a crazy filmmaker and be able to, communicate with the actors, pitch your project, kind of find your way in with each of them, like what is speaking to them about the material, what's interesting for them, whether it's the role they're going to play or the world itself or the themes or both or all three. And it's always a little different. So as a director, you kind of have to put on your salesman hat for those pitch meetings, and it's almost like a two-way interview. It's like a first date in a way. It's like we're kind of sniffing each other out. Is this going to work? Who's Evan Matthews? This is his first feature. This is a huge leap of faith with this filmmaker. But a lot of actors want to work on indie films and spread their wings and try new things and get to experiment, and that's a chance for the filmmakers to experiment. So uh, everyone had a little something different. And like for Nestor Carbonell, Emmy-winning actor, fantastic human being. He really responded to the themes in the script. He was all about it. He was reading it and just thought, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe this is a movie that's actually going to get made." Now he's excited to talk to the filmmakers. And so we immediately bonded over the themes of the story and using a dystopian backdrop to make that palatable, and then discussing his character as well and what we can do with that. Holland Taylor, when I met with her, it was very much about the character and who is Tony and why in the world would I play another role so similar to my other roles? And my job as a director is to say, okay, we're going to start doing some of the internal discovery work of that character, and I'll lay it out for you. So I'm actually speaking the actor's language. And then the subtext of that is I am competent. I know what I'm doing. I understand the material. I understand the character. I understand the job that you have to do. And you are going to be in a great collaboration experience when you're working with this director. So And that was really important for this movie because we got this movie fully cast a Sunday night before we would start filming Wednesday morning.
Oh, wow.
So it was really, really intense. So that meant we had no rehearsal and we had no table read. We just went to wardrobe fittings on Monday, and that was my chance to meet with all the cast, like to sit there with Miriam Silverman, who's a Tony winner, and she's fantastic. She's our lead who plays Cora, and walk her through all the visuals, show her all the pictures of the location where we're going to be, and start to share props and feel and touch things, and talk to her like hair and makeup, and make all of these major decisions uh just a day or two before filming. So that was really intense. So it was, I remember doing FaceTimes with Holland Taylor the night before her first scene. All of her work was front loaded because we had one location we were going to lose. So we had to shoot, I think, around 15 pages of dialogue that was mostly all Holland Taylor for the first 2 days of filming, and that was really intense. So we were just up late at night talking about the character, talking about the role, trying to make her feel at ease and as comfortable as possible. And then at some point you say, okay, we can't talk about it anymore. She has to do her prep. She has to break off and start to really commit this to memory so she can show up and be the 65-year veteran pro that she is, 7-time Emmy nominee, 1-time winner. So, it's great to have someone like that in your corner, but they're still human beings that have a lot of work to do. It's not like you could snap your fingers and just because they have all that experience, it's just going to magically absorb. They really have to do their work and they take it seriously, and they're going to be committing themselves on camera indefinitely. But they were very discerning in the process. They really wanted to make sure they would stay in their lane with their role and the weight of their character. So they knew that it was a balancing act of who we were casting around them. Like Nestor didn't want to go toe to toe with someone who wasn't on the level with him, weight and performance wise. So he didn't want to overpower any of the scenes. So he was very like, I don't want to sign on until I know who I'm playing opposite of, because he knows like I am taking a passenger seat to whoever will play Cora. And Holland Taylor very much the same. Like it matters who's slotting in. So when Miriam Silverman came into the conversation, Holland Taylor's partner Sarah Paulson knew of Miriam through Broadway and completely vouched for her. She's like, "Oh, Holland, you have to work with her. She's fantastic." So that was one of those happy little things going on behind the scenes that help nudge everything forward. So so there's always that classic conversation, that chicken or the egg, like do you get like a name actor or do you get financing, one or the other? It's like, no, even if you have those, there's so many things that still have to factor in and work themselves out. And the right reasons, the right why, the right passion that's really going to fuel this all the way to the end really has to be activated in everybody for them to commit and come on board.
I'm curious, a lot of filmmakers we talk to are, kind of doing self-funded projects, scraping at the bottom of the piggy bank to get their stuff off the ground.
Yeah.
And with this being funded, I'm curious if there's, and I'm sure you've been in maybe similar positions for projects. I'm curious with this project being funded, if there was kind of a different set of obstacles that you had to overcome that maybe wouldn't present themselves in maybe lower budget stuff, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think, when you have something, this was a low budget tier zero indie film. So we spent most of the budget on the cast, and that was a deliberate decision by the producers because we wanted to make sure we had as much reach as possible with the end product. And that's something you might not be able to do on an indie level with an even smaller budget. You're really going to go to friends, acquaintances, recommendations through different acting groups. Like that's what I've done for like short films in the past. Instead of hiring a casting director, I would go to acting workshops, acting classes, audit as a director, have my actor friends vouch for other actors to bring on like top quality actors who can really do the work and give you a great performance, who are right for the roles, that aren't getting the breaks they should be getting in Hollywood. So it was different in that capacity. But it was it's great coming in and there's funding in place, and I realize that is very rare. A lot of my friends had to self fundraise. I've done that for all my projects in the past. I've always had to do like the Seed and Spark and GoFundMe and all the other crowdfunding things and applying for grants and all of that work that chews up the clock. But for this, when it's funded, you take on other collaborators, which was a great situation for me in this case, because we worked with MPI Original Films. MPI stands for the Moving Picture Institute. So the Original Films Division is an offshoot of the Moving Picture Institute, which is actually a talent incubator, much like the Sundance Labs. So I was a part of that talent incubator, just doing their workshops and their fellowships and short film programs and cinematography classes. And they have a lot of social networking events that they put on, and master classes and dinners. So I was doing all of that for years. And what's different in this, which I haven't had encountered before, is that they had a project that they greenlit. They were taking pitches from directors, and I never thought I would be pitching myself for a film that somebody else wrote. I had always written everything in the past. I've written like many feature-length screenplays. I've wrote and shot all my own short film scripts. So to find a piece of writing that I totally responded to and had deeply personal connections to, uh, gave me the passionate resources and tools necessary to pitch and sell the producers and the writer on me as the director for this project. So right out the gates, that was a completely unique circumstance for myself. But also, it was a great boost in confidence, because now I realize I have a whole other skill set. I can take someone else's project, find a way to make it my own and pitch it and get other people to say, okay, this is the right man for this job. So it's like, great, I can work on my own projects and write and create my own things, but I can take someone else's, recognize the great writing, find a way to dial that writing up to the next level and get it to a place, especially dialogue wise, where the actors have roles that they really want to play. So I hope that answers your question.
No, definitely.
Well, speaking of the writing, I've got a two-parter for you. One, from what I understand, this was inspired by a Russian experiment. I'd like to hear a little bit about that. But also, when you came on board, what kinds of things did you do? What kinds of things did you collaborate with the writer about to adapt the script into the kind of film you wanted to make, if you did do that? I'm just curious. One, the inspiration behind the
Mhm.
experiments, and then two, how did you two collaborate?
Yeah, so Nicole Ravey, the screenwriter, did a wonderful job. Um, she's a huge historian buff. She can't get enough of it, and she was watching some History Channel show about this like post-Bolshevik Revolution experiment that happened, and just like blew her mind. And then she took it to the next step. She said, "Well, what if this didn't fail after 10 years? What if this continued for another 100 years? What would happen in this society?" That's why we place this in this alternate present society. It's like, okay, what happens if it continued and we kind of caught up to now or just beyond now? What would that look like? What's that world like? So it was this thought experiment that really started to play out. And it's really been fascinating. I've been on the road with the movie, and we had these Q&As after the screenings, and you start to find other people who have discovered the same social experiment that have happened in other communist countries that also failed. So someone was like, "Oh, this happened in Cambodia and this happened in this other country." I'm like, this is crazy that this has actually been attempted multiple times and has failed miserably multiple times, um, due to like catastrophic population collapse. So that was really, really interesting. But I was acquainted with Nicole through the the institute. We were both going through their labs, so this script came through their screenwriting development program. And when we partnered up, I think it's very typical that when a director takes on uh, something written by somebody else, they're always going to do some rewrites, or when the rubber meets the road, saying, okay, this is the location now, so our locations are changing, or based on actor or cast availability or combining roles, some things might be condensed. Or for me, I'm coming in with such a pure visual approach, because I look at film as such a visual medium. Like you have to be thinking about the visuals so heavily. So I'm like, okay, oh, you have this location in the script. What if we break out and we do this instead? And we go out, and I'm not sure if you've seen the film or not, but towards the midpoint, we were out in that whole greenhouse sequence. So I was like, let's get out of this facility. I really want to activate the audience's primal desire to be in nature. I really want them to go on this journey and just be and get that sense of nature and release, of being able to get out of this stifling claustrophobic facility. Even though it's the sprawling campus, you really feel trapped there. So when we get out, we get to see, instead of these fake pinks, and now I'm thinking about the visual design and the colors and what they mean, these fake projected pinks on everybody. I want to get into the nature and have natural greens and natural pinks and flower petals and the color of the sky, and activating our desire to move towards nature, move towards natural order, move back towards what's been denied from the people in the society. So that's where I start taking things like, oh, how can we dial this up to an 11? So it's great. And it's fun because Nicole's awesome, and she's great, and she's a wonderful collaborator. And and anytime and I know you guys are filmmakers as well, and when you're writing and you get so close to something, when you have another perspective and a fresh pair of eyes come in, you're like, oh wow, we can really do something new. We can take it further. That's what's so cool about this medium. You can have a director come on board and do his thing and say, okay, this is where we're going to take it to the next level. It's like Tony Scott taking Quentin Tarantino script, like in True Romance, and he starts making changes to just push the boundaries of where we can say, instead of having a dramatic scene take place in a bedroom, let's do it underneath the billboard outside of the window in the apartment complex. Like that's way more visually interesting, and there's stakes and risk because you're up high, and there's drama, and there's it's like those little things. Like how can we take it further? And the same, like one of the biggest changes was the finale and like the third act sequences, where I've had a lot of great rewriting experiences with elevating the finales and taking them further and trying to push things and make sure we're closing things off and bookending things. So I was challenging Lana, one of the producers, and Nicole, like, let's push that, let's get that, let's really give the audience something worth sitting in the seat and watching, and then make sure we have a hopeful ending for how severe the film is. So those are the types of things I was advocating for. And then you're on the fly, especially in pre-production and during filming, that the writer wasn't available. She had her commitments to MPI Original Films back at their home base in Los Angeles. So it was just me in New York. So I was making a lot of those changes. Or sometimes I would make all the notes and I'd give them to the producer Tony, and I'd have him type those up and circulate the new pages. So, and I think that's very part and parcel for the director-writer relationship. And when you're making the project your own, it's in no way hijacking it from the writer. It's like, this is part of the collaboration to make this thing even better, and shine this thing up the best way we possibly can. And what's really beautiful about all of it is that we're all on the same page. We all agree to these changes, and we're all making the same movie. And the movie's really telling you as you go along what it wants to be. When working with the production designer, Elizabeth Jones, or Kasusha Genenfeld, the cinematographer, we're all discovering what this movie wants to be. And it's really starting to speak to us and tell us. And you have to lean into it. You have to let go of any ego you might have and say, how am I serving this project the best way possible? And it starts with the writing, and then it filters through all the department heads, and then ultimately filters through me as I'm curating all of these things and making these decisions that will ultimately go on film.
Well, staying on the visual kind of style for a second, I'm
Mhm.
curious about the production design, since it's supposed to be kind of like a dystopian future, but you use old technology, old media to a certain degree. I'm curious, just from the directing standpoint, how you kind of, if you had any kind of strategy towards melding those two together.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I was very aware of different types of dystopian films that exist, and we all know them and love them, like Children of Men, or we get Handmaid's Tale references all the time. I've yet to see it because I didn't want that to enter into my consciousness, right? I didn't want to draw on anything, so I had to be careful like what I let in the pre-production phase onward because I didn't want that to influence me. But we have those conversations, especially with Elizabeth Jones, our production designer. Like, what is this movie and what is not this movie? What type of dystopian world is this? So we would reverse engineer the film. We would say, okay, if this revolution happened 100 years or so ago, that means we would have some sort of peak in technology and then we reach the decline. That means if for this society to exist, they would have to prioritize certain technology to keep things up and running, and things that they would let go would be like satellite dishes and wireless everything and cell phones, and all of that starts to go away. That's gone. So the pinnacle of technology is reached, is coming down. So what are they preserving? And that means they're going to have to revert back to wires and hoses and going back to all things analog and 4 by 3 and monitors and salvaging and finding what they can cobble back together and maintain. And a lot of this world is this crumbling facade and trying to keep the world of Motherland up and running to seem like everything's good, fine and good, but everything's starting to tear and break at the seams. And we're like, okay, what does that look like? So are we prioritizing? Well, if it's all about um, birth and motherland and motherhood and the children, that means we're going to have to prioritize uh, everything that surrounds like birth and protecting birth and surgeries and ultrasounds and everything that has to do with that world. Because there's a lot of systems of control in this world. You'll see that all like the check-in boxes and registration wristbands and all that, that's always functioning and working and making sure that's a part of that world. So certain things are prioritized, other things are left to the wayside, and everything else in between is being barely maintained and cobbled together. So there's a certain type of retrofuturism that's applied, but because of the procreation aspect of it, we're like, okay, that's what's separating this from other dystopian types of worlds. And then you start to play with that and say, okay, what else can we do? How can we make this feel lived in? How can we make it unique to this world? So in the film, you'll see these gigantic murals on these giant walls and peppered throughout the film. And that's something that would take like 2 weeks of scaffolding and production design and stencils going up. Like it's really fun to watch like a 30-foot tall mural getting painted for this film, and then all the walls changing and all the different art that's going up everywhere to make this feel real and lived in and feel like a campus. And then you kind of pick and choose your moments where you're going to show off different types of technology and how the world works, because I was very conscious of, okay, you can really get carried away and too sucked into that, uh, which is cool and fun because I love good sci-fi, but I don't want that to steal away from the character and the performances and the meat that's necessary for the audience to sink their teeth into to go on this ride, because you have to have these performances that are absolutely grounded and real, and the relationships that feel real and authentic and relatable to all of us, to say, okay, if I can believe in that, I can believe in everything else. So we're kind of finding our balance to fire on all cylinders to let people escape and go on this ride in Motherland.
Well, before we wrap up, I know you're screening in Portland. Tell us about that and when that screening is going to happen.
Oh yeah, I think that's August 7th. I'm sorry, I'll have to double check the date. So um,
We'll put it
usually
in
I'm
the
all
notes. We'll put it
over.
in the liner
We'll put
notes.
it in the notes. We'll put it in the notes. There's be links in the bios and all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to screening in Portland. It's great when you get into a very enthusiastic film community like in Portland, especially all the animated short films. I'm really looking forward
No,
to
they
that
they've
as
got a
well.
lot of they got a lot of good stuff coming out that
They
at PF
they
Cat this year.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really do. And when I go to festivals, I always go to the animation blocks, because you could go to an animation block and see such a wild variety of styles. unlike the features or the shorts blocks, the animation blocks are so unique, and you can see so many voices shining through, and there's so much experimentation. So I love it. I think it's great. So when we got into Portland, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like that's my cup of tea over there. So I'm very much looking forward to that and the screening and sharing the movie with the audiences over there. I think it'll really find a home with the crowd in Portland. So I can't wait. So I think it's either August 6th or August 7th, and yeah, it's on their website and their Instagram page. So I'll be posting about it if you really want to know, and if you're in the area. I'm always on social media promoting the movie and tagging the Motherland account and everything, and all the festivals that we're playing at. But yeah, Portland's been a fun one. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, that's cool. Well, the film is called Motherland, and you will be screening at PF Cat coming up in August. So we wish you the best of luck and stay in touch.
Absolutely, will do. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on. You guys are fantastic.
Absolutely. Well, hang on. We want to chat with you just for a second, but in the meantime,
Sure.
you take care and travel safe.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
This episode is sponsored by Gemini Crown Tech, owned and operated by Stephanie Moore and Stephanie Harrison. We at Gemini Crown Tech have covered all your production management needs with our proprietary software. Please visit our website at www.geminicrowntech.com and use the code FMP for Filmmaker Mixer podcast listeners, so we know how you heard about us.
Thank you for listening to the Filmmaker Mixer podcast, a podcast created and hosted by filmmakers Jeff Stolen and Andrew Lamping, and produced by Melody Lopez.
Our theme song was composed by Stephen D. Bennett.
Make sure to follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on, and stay tuned for future episodes.